think music is always in our lives and mostly in my house, where music has been all the time inside my house because of my dad and my family, and everybody's like always singing and playing some instruments, and it's also part of the Colombian culture. So I guess the decision was not when to get into music, but when to take it seriously as a career. The interest to be a conductor was around, it started when I was in undergrad. Thanks to Maestra Cecilia Espinosa, I got a couple of lessons with her. I think I studied with her around 3 semesters to 4 semesters. And then when I was doing my master's, that was the point when I decided that I wanted to do the shift and dedicate, one could say, my whole life to conducting. That's when I moved from piano and all those hours of practice to conducting and hours of rehearsing and studying scores. Every piece of music has a message. Sometimes it's very clear, sometimes it's even in the title, sometimes it's not clear, sometimes the title is just an opus number. And that's where you really have to dig. I'm not saying that the pieces with a programmatic title are easier, but they tend to lead us and the audience to something that the composer wanted to express. And that would be my goal, to change lives through music. And that's why I always try to speak before I perform, because I like creating that connection and making sure that people understand that we are humans too, that we have same issues, same problems with them, and that we all relate. Maybe we have a more deep understanding of music and that's our area of expertise, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it what they feel. And yes, through that and the music, just to change the moments or the lives of people, that would be my goal from now on.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this broadcast on this lovely evening. My name is Adi from Sabah, Malaysia, and I will be your host for tonight. I hope that everyone is doing fine and always keeps everything clean. On behalf of the Jesselton Philharmonic Orchestra, we would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone who is tuning in to our broadcast tonight. For more info, please go to our JPO Facebook, Instagram, Twitter page, and don't forget to press the like and follow button. For Zoom attendee, please answer the following poll so that our next broadcast experience could be improved. If there is any question that you would like to ask our guests for tonight, please write it down at the Q&A below, or for YouTube live viewer, type it out at the comment section. JPO are very honored to be able to invite Dr. Juan Montoya with the topics conducting youth orchestras. Colombian conductor Juan Montoya has been the recipient of several international prizes, and his career includes various invitations as a guest conductor around the world. His symphonic concert engagement have included performances with the Malaysian Philharmonic Youth Orchestra, Bentley Repertoire Orchestra, and UITM Symphony Orchestra Malaysia, Ayafit Symphony Orchestra Colombia, Surabaya Symphony Orchestra Indonesia, and many more. He holds a Doctor of Musical Arts degree in orchestral and opera conducting from the University of Arizona Fred Fox School of Music as a student of Dr. Thomas Cockrell. He also works under the tutelage of Vance George of the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra. Earlier, Montoya earned a double master's degree in piano performance and orchestral conducting from the University of Toledo, Ohio in 2009, and a bachelor's degree in piano performance from the IAFIT School of Administration, Finance and Technological Institute University in Medellin, Colombia in 2006. Future conducting engagement include Carmen Opera in Malaysia and guest conducting concerts, opera production in Mexico, Paraguay, Hungary, Romania, Colombia, and the United States. Now, without further ado, let us invite Dr. Juan Montoya for the interview. Hello there, Dr. Juan. Are you there?
Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me and nice to see you again.
Yes, I was your student back then, around
Yeah,
2011. Yes,
we were talking about that, so it's very
yes,
nice to see you again
yes.
after a few years.
A few years. Well, next year would be a decade.
Oh,
All
really?
right. Yes.
Time really flies, yeah.
Yes. All right.
Wow.
So, according to the video we have just watched, you started gaining interest in conducting during undergraduate study. Could you share more about it?
Yes, actually, when I was doing my undergrad, I started getting lessons from my first conducting teacher, Maestra Cecilia Espinosa,
Mhm.
who back then became a mentor, and I think she's still a mentor until now. A great, great person, great human being, and amazing to work with her. And then when I went to do my master's, I did actually a master's in piano performance, and then right after that, I did a master's in orchestral conducting. So we could say that during my master's was when I kind of did the shift between piano and conducting. At the same time, you
Okay.
use the piano a lot when you are a
Mhm.
conductor. So it's not like I abandoned the piano. No, I still playing a lot.
I see.
And I
So,
have to be honest, during this
mhm.
quarantine, I actually went back to the piano quite a lot, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, during the transition, so what happened? What sparked your interest for taking conducting?
Actually, I've been interested in conducting, I think, my whole life
I
since
see.
I started music. When I
Ah,
was doing my undergrad, I started conducting, as I told you, starting with Maestra Cecilia Espinosa, but I was also working with the percussion ensemble under Maestro Alexander Sivorov from Ukraine, and I was the conductor. So he actually allowed me to conduct this ensemble for around 2 years, I think so. And we conducted quite a lot. We traveled to a few countries with that ensemble.
mhm.
So I was always interested in on conducting. And then I think my master's made it more official. And then after that, I moved to Malaysia, and that's when everything started rolling and happening. Yeah.
All right. So, with this background and education, followed by decades of experience conducting different orchestras, what do you think are the quality of an excellent conductor?
I think, yeah, that's a very broad question, we could
Yeah.
say it, because I mean, the answer could be very long, but
Yeah.
for me, I think a good conductor is a person that mixes perfectly the academic and musicianship qualities with personal qualities, because it is very often that you see a person that knows a lot about music that actually is a really good conductor with the hands, but is not a good person, or it doesn't communicate well with the people, or people just doesn't like it or feel close to that person. So to answer your question, I think a complete conductor is a person that covers both sides, not only the academic, the musicianship side, where of course we have to study a lot because we have to know all the score and have all the answers for whatever instrument asks us a question. But we also have to allow ourselves to be
Mhm.
a lot of human being, like understand every part of the orchestra, every member, every issue, understand that sometimes an orchestra may not sound good because not because of you or because of the piece, but because of something that is happening in the location where you are. And that happens a lot, mostly when I'm traveling around. Sometimes you reach an orchestra that they are having some kind of troubles, and it's your job to kind of uh, calm them down and understand that you arrived to share music and to make them feel good and to transmit that to the audience. So yeah, I think a good conductor is a person that is a good conductor and a good person as well. Yeah.
I guess uh, critical thinking would be more used during conducting. Everything is what happening, and everything needs to be settled on the spot, something like that.
Of course, yeah. And at the same time, you have to give the instruments the confidence, the relaxation for them to play. That happens, for example, if somebody has a solo
Mhm.
and you know this person is a little bit nervous, so you just look at them, smile ahead of time and tell them, don't worry,
Mm.
it's going to be okay. And
It's,
usually it's okay.
mhm.
Sometimes maybe a little things happen, but even if those little things happen, and if you're in a performance, it's your job to make this person feel okay. So because the important results is the whole music. An orchestra is, it's a huge instrument. I mean, it's not one person, it's 60, 70, 80, or even more if you use a choir. So your idea is to make these people feel good, uh, feel comfortable, and that they can project and describe and transmit that music to the audience, because you have people in front and people in the back. So you have to send the message that is happening here transmitted through you to the people who are in the back.
All right. So now let's move on with our topic for tonight, which is orchestral youth conducting youth orchestra. So, you have been working with many musicians around the world. So, what are the differences between youth orchestras around the world and the Malaysian Youth Orchestra, if that's okay?
Yes, I mean, like youth orchestras and
Hmm.
professional orchestras, they are
Yeah.
very different. They have different challenges. And actually, if we are going to talk about youth orchestras, every youth orchestra has differences from depending on when you are.
Hmm.
Some countries they have really really good youth orchestras. Some other countries they actually have youth orchestras that are just in the process of getting good.
Mm.
So it's your job to arrive to the place, maybe do a little bit of research before you arrive, and
I see.
understand what
Mhm.
kind of orchestra you are conducting. Because first of all, you have to make sure they can play the music you want to do. If they cannot play it, you have to adjust the tempos sometimes. If if you are in charge of the repertoire, you really have to know what the orchestra has played before. So you
Mm.
cannot send, like, let's say it's an orchestra that is not that good, and no, I want them to play Shostakovich 5, and then of course, like, everybody will be like, that's too much.
Yeah.
So a lot of things you have to take in mind. So probably a lot of research ahead of time, If you are visiting, I mean, if you are like a visiting conductor, a lot of research ahead of time, so the project doesn't become a frustration, so everybody's happy. If you are now working with a youth orchestra, that's actually a pleasure, because youth orchestras, you see people growing inside the orchestra. You see how a little kid joins the orchestra. Maybe he's very good and he's only 12, and then he grows into the orchestra until he's 15, 16, 17, until he goes to college. And that happens also in university orchestras. I have conducted many university orchestras in the US and of course here. So it's also a very happy process. And we could say that sometimes it's a little bit sad process too, because when the students are getting so good, and then they graduate, so you are like, oh, okay, like you are happy for them, but you are also like, oh, okay, I'm going to miss your sound in the orchestra. So yeah, youth orchestras are something that it's a beautiful thing to do. And you have to understand that it's a thing that is not permanent. Because let's say the orchestra, for example, I don't know your orchestra, if it's mostly youth orchestra, but at some point people will grow up and they move on to a different thing. And you have to be okay with that. So sometimes people stays 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. In many countries, actually, the orchestras, they have age limit, for example. So even if a person wants to stay longer, I think usually it's after 25. In a lot of orchestras in the world, you cannot be part of a youth orchestra. You are not considered youth anymore. So you kind of have to move on to a new thing.
Yes.
But yeah, the main thing is that like you have to know a lot of information ahead of time, have a lot of patience, and enjoy. It's a beautiful, beautiful work to do.
All right. So if there's any one of you who is in the youth orchestra right now, so youth orchestra is not permanent. So cherish the moment. Okay. So if
Exactly, like really enjoy it, because they may become one of the most beautiful memories of your whole musical career. So enjoy the moment. Yeah.
so if there is any question that our viewers for tonight would like to ask our guest, please write it down at the Q&A below, or for YouTube live viewer, type it out in the comment section. Now, moving on with the questions. Uh, what are the challenge you have encountered when you conduct a youth orchestra?
Yeah, challenges are very, very different depending on the location, depending on where you are. So I think the challenges sometimes there are several. Sometimes some challenges come actually from not from the musicians or the kids themselves, but sometimes the administration. So you have to know how to deal with that too, because you have to make sure everybody works together. And actually that goes back to the point that a conductor needs to be a good person and a people person, because sometimes a lot of things that make the music happen are not musical. It's like negotiations, making sure people are happy, making sure people are budget, like the organizations, they have budgets, and or if there are budget cuts, you have to adapt. You have to be ready for many things. Other issues or challenges that are non-musical are, for example, parents sometimes could be challenging. And a lot of people don't talk about this, but yeah, it's true. Like there are parents that are very supportive, there are parents that are not that supportive. I have found cases that parents actually like prohibit the kids to become players in orchestras, and actually they come in secret. So many things,
Wow.
like many things like that. So that's where your human part plays, and then you actually encourage and talk with the parents and make peace with everybody. Challenges musically is like I actually haven't find many challenges musically, because I like to be prepared. I like to know what I'm going to conduct, what kind of people I'm going to conduct. But the challenges I've seen other people having is that sometimes they don't plan the repertoire very well. So that's where you have to be really smart. You really have to know what kind of ensemble you are going to conduct. And trust me, at this like technological era, it's very easy. Like before, they could invite you to conduct in some country, and then you are like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to find. But right now it's a little bit easier because if you get hired to conduct a youth orchestra in some country, you can go YouTube and ask around and try to figure out how they sound. You find a video. I think when you watch a video of an orchestra in 10, 20 seconds, you know, like, okay, I know what kind of orchestra it is. And then you kind of like classify them on certain repertoire, like, okay, this. And that's where some negotiation could happen because, for example, they could hire you to do some pieces that you know they shouldn't be doing. So that's where you have to start negotiating with administrators. That's not a musical job, but it should happen. And that's it. I think challenges that you should be ready for when you are rehearsing is understanding that youth orchestras, they are a very sensitive age. So you have to be ready to approach every single kid with different tact, with different approach, with care, because some kids could be really relaxed if you are strict, but other kids could freak out, and you don't know. So you have to be a conductor that is always in the middle, that is not too strict, not too relaxed, that is always paying attention to their reactions, how they react, how they respond, making sure that they are comfortable, but also challenged a little bit, so they also keep the energy. So I think those could be the challenges, non-musical and musical challenges that one can find while conducting youth orchestras. Yeah.
I would say that these two, musically and non-musically, needs to be balanced. Even though the orchestra is good, the musician conductor is good, but if the parent is not good with it, then it's not
Yeah,
gonna balance. All right.
exactly.
All right. Uh, are you there? Okay. Let's move on with the next question. Are there any tips that you would give to any student aspiring to be a conductor?
Yes, first of all, my first advice is you have to study a lot. You have to know the standard repertoire a lot, the classicals, the romantics, all of these people. My other advice is, I think, this is not mine much. This is from Simon Rattle because I love his conducting. I really like him as a person. And he says something really interesting. A conductor, he needs to be a human first. So I love when he said that a conductor should be reading poetry, a conductor should be watching art, a conductor should be reading novels and even writing and drawing and meeting with people and understanding what's happening in the world, because our job is connect the musicians with the audience. So if we are actually not informed about what the audience is feeling, we are disconnected. We won't be able to deliver the message because we don't know the audience. So in short, you have to study a lot, but you have to live a lot and make sure you are part of the society, that you know what's going on, that honestly that you read the news, you know what's happening. A lot of contact with the arts. Another advice I give everybody, not only conductors but any kind of musician, is whatever you do, whatever you play, whatever you conduct, you should know a lot about what you're doing. Background of the composer, background of the story, what's happening what was happening in the world right there. If you are conducting a new piece and the conductor is alive, you should talk with the composer is alive, sorry. You should talk a lot with this composer and yeah, like make sure like you are delivering the message of this composer.
All right, thank you for the answer. It's very hard to get the, what should I say? It's somehow like a philosophy. Be a human.
Yeah, I think that that's my advice, because when we are instrumentalist, we become very lonely people, and I think that was one of the reasons like I kind of shift from the piano to conducting, because I wanted to do music with more people and not only
More,
chamber music, but make
I
music
see.
like with a bigger impact and interact with musicians. And then that's what I also mentioned in that video that you saw at the beginning, that I really like talking with the audience, because in that way I tell them like, hey, we are humans too. I know like it's weird, like you always, people are used to sit down and then everybody just plays, but nobody talks. And I think when you talk, you kind of break invisible wall that has always been there, and then tell them like, hey, you know what, I am human, and we are all human too. The whole orchestra is human. We have issues, we have concerns, we also have like happiness, and this is what we want to transmit to you this night, and then you play. So that's what I like, connecting with people, the human side of people.
Nice. Okay, now moving on with the next question. This one have something to do with, what should I say, biology. We do know that in youth orchestra, everyone is boiling with hormones and spirit. Now, do some of the players try to dominate or overshadow the others, like trying to show their superiority, like who's the boss, something like that?
Yeah, that happens a lot in youth orchestras, but I think that's where the conductor has to be like, hey, because I don't think everybody's equal, of course. No, like you have in every orchestra, you have leaders, you have a concertmaster, even every section has a leader, and they have a job. They have a job in a youth orchestra, and they have a job in a professional orchestra. They even have like different salaries, different duties, and all of that. So somehow this behavior could be acceptable. If it becomes not healthy, that's where you have to step in and tell some sort of person like, hey, calm down, or oh, relax, or chill out, or whatever language you want to use with them. Because yeah, not everybody's equal, but the music has to sound as one. Okay. So that's very tricky. I mean, right now we are talking and it sounds like, oh yeah, that's so easy to do. That's not easy. Why? Because everything I'm telling you is not only difficult, but it always happens in real time. I mean, this is not something that you can write and then send an email. No, this is something that happens in rehearsal. And rehearsal is not an email. Rehearsal is something that is happening and you have to fix it right now. And this person became mean, and you have to fix it, or you have to ignore it, or you have to acknowledge, or wait for the break and tell them like, hey, relax. Same thing with a concert. Everything is real time. So that's where experience counts a lot. Like, because I mean, I have conducted many orchestras, so I kind of have a picture of every single how do you say that, like psychological profile. So I kind of know like, oh, this person is this type, this person is this type, this person is this type, and then you start like, okay, and with the sole purpose of the music, because at the end it's not like you want to make this person like this person. No, I want this person likes Beethoven or Schubert, and this is what we are going to do. And for that, you try to create a peaceful environment and work out all these individual sections into one composer, which is what is going to happen at the end.
I see. So, based on your experience, have you ever encountered a fight during conducting?
Yes, but I mean, I think I am very good at stopping them. So it's usually like, okay, whatever, it's okay, make peace, be happy, let's keep rehearsing. And they usually get off like pretty fast.
Okay.
But they do happen. That's like an office place, like when people they are in an office and they fight with each other, and then an orchestra is like that. It's an institution with a lot of people working in very close proximity. So yeah, you have to be ready to fix whatever happens.
All right. So, for how many long that you have been here in Malaysia?
I've been on and off since 2010, so I've been here quite a long time, I think so. Because I was 2010, 2015, then I was away for 5 years, but I am the conductor of the KLCO Kuala Lumpur City Opera. Like I'm very proud of them because such a great team. It's like a family. So I kept working with them. So I was actually coming here like twice a year. I think from every year I was like 3 months of the year here. So So I think it feels like I never left Malaysia. I was doing my doctorate, traveling around, doing concerts, but also, also in Malaysia a lot. And then I moved back again in, we could say January before MCO and everything.
All right. Now, since you have been here for so long, would you tell us about your future plan in Malaysia?
I mean, right now we are just working with the students. One of my main jobs is, of course, at UITM University. It's a university that I like. They have been very supportive, and they are very, very full of talents. I mean, that's what I keep coming back there, because they have, I mean, like every single student has a lot of talent. I think you guide them the right way, they just become great musicians. And I'm also working with the Kuala Lumpur City Opera, and it's great to work with them. As I told you, that became a family. So every production is like, you know, everybody, and you know how to work, and it is just a happy place to work. And I just arrived in January, and of course in March we all know what happened. Like, we got locked down,
Yes.
and we could say that this is not a normal year for anybody in the planet. I mean, it's such a strange year. So
Mhm.
I think plans for now is wait and see what happens with the world, what happened with the planet. Hopefully everything will get better, because I send my wishes to everybody. Like, I hope, because Malaysia is doing very well. So
Mhm.
for Malaysians, congratulations, and I'm happy to be here, because the country has been doing so well, but you cannot relax.
True.
So yeah, regarding plans, I think this year has been so crazy that it's mostly like, let's plan like close future. Let's don't go too far until like we know,
Make it.
like, okay, we are out of the woods. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for telling us your plan for the future. Now, let's talk about the Jesselton Philharmonic Orchestra, which is our organization. So, JPO is an organization with limited funding, which conducts activities like the outreach program. What advice would you give to us beside organizing concerts, workshops, and music camp? What is your view on our program like this?
I think, first of all, I think these programs are fundamental for society. They are very good. So, again, congratulations, and you should never give up. I know at some point it may become a little bit hard, but
Mhm.
my message for all of you is keep going, because sometimes in those moments of giving up is where you have to be stronger and get better, of course. I think funding is usually a big issue, and it's, you shouldn't see it as an issue. You should see it as an opportunity to work, to do networking, to find partners. Sometimes orchestras, this happens a lot in the US. Sometimes an orchestra, they just need one partner, like a really good one, like a really, let's say, a really rich one, yeah, that believes in the dream, that believes in the project, and that could like fuel the project for 2, 4, 5 years. So, but also for this, the project has to be very strong. The project has to be very like solid and steady. So I think what you guys are doing is very good. Like, just keep the project very steady, so you are actually ready to show it when somebody's interested, because funding is very important. And also, I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with how the government funding works, but I hope you and many other organizations are looking for government funding, because right now many governments are helping artists, because it's very, 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 very hard right now. So because of that, is important that all the organizations, they find many, many, many things, like, okay, the government, companies, this and that. If it's a youth orchestra, maybe you can find funding from the parents themselves, and that will be helpful too. And of course, I understand that some projects are also meant for people who don't have funding. So actually, that's very beautiful, but you have to find the funding from another place. So again, we go back to what I was saying earlier about a conductor being a person, because you also, if you need money, you cannot just sit down at home and study score. You have to go out and find it, and you have to network, find people and organizations. Sometimes organizations all over the world too, like could be from overseas that have companies here. So just think out of the box and try to do something. Maybe also you can fund part of your project with concerts and performances. This is a little bit hard, I think, because the idea is also to share the music, probably for free. But you could have some kind of fundraising concerts from time to time. People will understand, like, hey, this is a fundraising concert because we need money for 2021. Let's talk about next year because this year is too weird. Okay. So 2021, let's have a fundraising concert, and then things like that. I mean, just think out of the box, have many ideas, and never give up. I know that's difficult, and you may have moments where you are like, okay, I'm done with this. No, try to keep going. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your advice for the JPO. And again, we would like to say to give you a very warm welcome and thank you so much for being with us tonight, Dr. Juan.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now that's it for the interview. Now let's move on to the Q&A section. Now there has been a lot of some question going in. All right. Now let's move on with the first question by Andrew Filmer. What people might not as much is that you are a composer as well, with a composition performed at Cambridge University last year with you at the piano. Could you talk a bit about being a composer?
Being a composer, yeah, that's like another side. I don't talk much about it, but it's always there. Being a composer is good because sometimes you have ideas that you don't find a piece of music that can express it. And I think we as musicians, sometimes we express our feelings through pieces, but sometimes we cannot find that piece. And I think I'm grateful enough to have some skill in composing, and I've been having some successful competitions and compositions. And yeah, Andrew, thank you very much, because he joined me in Cambridge in the UK, and we played one of my compositions, and it was very well received. It was actually a collaboration with an artist and a poet, an artist from the US and a poet from Colombia. So it was a piece based on the whole war conflict that is ending in Colombia. Like, it ended already, but still a lot of feelings and harsh feelings. And for example, that's what I was saying. Like, sometimes you don't find a piece to express this, and ideas come to your mind, and I can't write them. I know the piano, I know the instruments, I know the orchestra. So that was a nice moment to do that. And I had the chance to have pieces recorded by the National Symphony Orchestra of Colombia, which is very good. I have a couple of pieces for percussion ensembles. So yeah, it's another side of my musician's life that I'm very happy to share and to do. I don't talk much about it, but people seem to appreciate my pieces. So that's good. Yeah.
All right. Let's continue with the next question. Yeah. It's with a no-name, anonymous. Hi. What would you say is the most fulfilling aspect of conducting youth orchestras?
I think it's that bittersweet moment when the students go to a better place. Okay. Like when like you have been teaching a person since they are very small, and then all of a sudden they graduated, and then they apply to good schools and they go. So that's a fulfilling moment. And I'm saying it's bittersweet because it's actually a bit sad, but like, okay, I did the job, and yeah, like he's going to this conservatoire or this university or this program. So I think that's one of the most rewarding moments of conducting youth orchestras, when like people are actually getting out of that orchestra to follow music, to when I say a better place, I'm not saying the orchestra is bad. I'm saying like a better place into the what's next in their life, and that's very fulfilling, very very happy moment. Yeah.
All right. Let's continue with the next question. What do you consider to be the most important ideas and concept to impart to aspiring young musician?
And the most important what ideas and
Concept. Concept to impart to aspiring young
yeah,
musician.
I think I will jump in what I said earlier. That I mean, I'm not going to say they are my words. They are from Simon Rattle. But I always thought that. So when I saw him doing that interview, I was like, yeah, I always think that is please be a human.
Human.
Please interact with the world. I'm not saying like, okay, maybe we all musicians are a little bit shy, even myself, yeah. But that doesn't mean that you don't go to concerts and listen to other people. That doesn't mean that you don't go to a museum and appreciate art. It's not all about music. It's about music happens in time. And during these times, many things are going on in arts, in politics, in culture, in economics. And all of these affect the lives of every composer. So I think you should be able to grasp whatever is happening during your time, because if you don't do that, then the people in the back, not the musicians, the people in the back, they are living that. But if you don't know what they are living, you cannot connect with them, because it's like you are a foreign human that always stay 24/7 in a practice room and just go out for macan and that's it. So yeah, my advice is study a lot, yes, but get out of your practice room, get out of your score, and see what's going on in the planet too.
All right. Now let's move on with the next question. Another anonymous question. Dr. Montoya, what is your most memorable concert experience?
Yeah, I think there is not one. I think there are memorable moments on every concert. I think that would be the answer, because I cannot pick, honestly, I cannot pick one. I mean, there have been many concerts, many countries, and many operas. And every concert has a single moment that you are like, wow, that was beautiful. And so I really cherish those moments. Like, so I don't think there is a concert that I could say, oh, this year, blah, blah, blah. No, it's more about every single concert. And then you have this moment of light and beauty. And of course, the best concerts are when this moment is longer, or when this moment happens a lot, because some concerts sometimes you're like it could be a little bit scary sometimes. But yeah, for me it's about moments, not about a concert. It's about moments when you, for example, have been working during rehearsals on a section, that working and working and fixing and fixing, and then you go to the concert and it sounds that's the best that can happen. And I think every conductor will agree with me that when that happens, it's like super happy moment.
All right. Moving on. Next question. Hello, doctor. Who or what are the most significant influences on your musical life?
My musical life, my teachers, of course, from my undergrad, Maestra Cecilia Espinosa, my piano teacher, Blanca Uribe, my composition teacher, Andres Posada. These were my first big influences. Regarding conducting, of course, we have all the other teachers during my master's, my teacher during my doctorate, and Maestro Thomas Cockrell. He was like great teacher. I mean, like such amazing, such a good decision to when to go to study with him. It was very nice. My mentor Vance George, who is always like guiding me there in both sides, musical side and personal side. That's when you get like a really good mentor from the San Francisco Symphony. And I think many other role models that you see, but these are on video, of course. Like, I don't know, like from the old conductors, we could say like Karajan is one of my favorites, even if his tempos are a bit slow sometimes, but I don't know, he has something that I like in the way he produces music. Simon Rattle, like not only because of his words, I met him, I talked to him a couple of times. I had the chance to see Berlin Philharmonic once. And yeah, it's like all of these things, like when music and videos become real people, you are like, wow, okay, this is amazing. So all of these role models are from the academic side, from the personal side, and that's what I try to transmit to the people. It's not only about the music, it's about what you are as a human and how can you connect that side with that side.
I see. All right. Moving on. As a conductor, how exactly do you communicate your ideas about a work?
First of all, I try to communicate my ideas with my hands, of course. Like that's the first step, like hand. But of course, that's why we also have rehearsals to communicate through words. So you stop and say this, that. Sometimes the best way to communicate an idea is talking about the composer, talking about what was happening, because what I mentioned earlier, you have to do a lot of research, not only about the music, but about the composer as well. So sometimes there is a musical idea that is not working, but if you tell them, like, look, this composer was thinking on this, or he was just coming out of this issue on his life, or imagine you are feeling this, and then people will be like, oh, okay, I can feel it, I can play it. If you can feel it, you can play it. Of course, if you are technically ready, but that's another part. Because in a rehearsal, you don't come to rehearse technique. You come to share musical ideas, to share what you want to sound, and also to bring back the ideas that the composer wrote. Because it's also not like you are going to bring all your own stuff. No, that's where the research comes into play. So you know kind of what the composer was feeling, you bring it back to 2020 and tell the people this is it, and then from there it goes to the public.
All right. Let's move on with the next question. Yeah. Have you ever experienced a situation in which you felt that you were unable to get the most out of an orchestra?
And no, honestly not. Because I think when you are visiting an orchestra, you have to set your goals on the top of that orchestra. So, like, I mean, to be honest, like, not every orchestra is going to sound wow, but every orchestra can sound their best. So, your job as a conductor is to actually go to these orchestras and make them sound the best they can sound. So that's why when you do that, when you plan that, when you do that with care, then nobody's frustrated, because I'm expecting them to be your top, not like the top of Europe or the top of the US, of South America or Asia. I want everybody to be their best they can. And you will be surprised that when you push the right buttons, people actually go up from when they thought they were their best. So that's what I'm telling you. Like, I have never had a bad experience, because most of the times people play better than what they were expecting. So I think that's good news.
Okay. Right. So this will be the last question for tonight. Yeah. And this is a question from me. Now, as I have experienced during my study with you in UITM, the skills of a player is like there's a high level and there's like a beginner. How do you handle this kind of ensemble during the orchestra?
That one, you have to be very smart with repertoire, because right now there are a lot of repertoire that is designed for orchestras that have a lot of variations on level. So that's why I like using arrangements that are usually, if it's a youth orchestra, I like using arrangements that are designed for this, that have like violin 1, violin 2, and violin 3.
Okay.
And violin 3 is, for example, an easy version of one of these. So that's where planning comes into play, because you cannot tell them, okay, we're going to play Beethoven 5, sit down, 10, and then the person in the back is like, I cannot play this. But what if you go back a little bit, maybe don't play the Beethoven 5th, but some arrangement that is designed by educators and people who actually know the work, and you can make everybody feel good. The ones that are a good level, they can play the challenging part, and the other ones can play a more easier part. You have to adapt, and again, that's where planning comes into play, because if you are going to play in if you are invited to conduct an orchestra, you really need to know what they can do. And also, you also push a little bit higher, because it's not like you, okay, I want them to be easier. No, like, okay, so you can do this, so when I go, we are going to be this much better. But I mean, don't go here, don't frustrate them, but push them a little bit high, and every time high and high and high. So it's all about planning, making sure that you know that not everybody has the same level, but everybody loves the music the same. So your job is that everybody keeps loving music, not like at the end everybody quits violin and no, I don't like it anymore.
I see. All right. All right, everyone. We had come to the end of tonight's broadcast. For those who are waiting for your answer, please stay back as Dr. Juan will be answering after this in voice. For more info, please go to our JPO Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and press the like and follow button. And if you want to rewatch and listen to this broadcast again, it will be available after this broadcast end. The recording of this live broadcast will be available for you to watch at our YouTube page. We are doing this broadcast with other topic every Wednesday and Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in to this broadcast. Thank you for all the question, and thank you, Dr. Juan, for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and good job with your projects, and don't give up. Keep pushing, keep pushing.
All right. All right. So that's it for tonight. Be safe, and be healthy, and do stay at home. So for tonight, I will lead the prayer to end tonight's program. And please pray in whatever faith you believe in for the COVID-19. So here it goes. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma inni a'udzubika minal barsi wal junoni wal juzami wa min sayyil asqam. Oh Allah, I seek your refuge from leprosy, insanity, mutilation, and from all serious illness. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La yadhuru ma'ismi syai'un fil ardi wala fis sama iwama huwa al samiul alim. In the name of Allah, with whose name nothing on the earth or in the heaven can cause harm, and He is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. All right. And and again, JPO would like to thank Dr. Juan Montoya for being with us tonight. Thank you again, Dr. Montoya.
Thank you
And
very much.
all right. So good night and see you all next time.
Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye, Doctor.
Mm.